Hi, and welcome to the Rare Business Podcast. My name is Adrian Swinsko, and I'm a consultant, advisor, researcher, and writer on all things related to customer service and customer experience. Through this podcast, I seek out and interview CEOs, entrepreneurs, business and tech leaders, and leading thinkers about what it takes to build organizations that produce better outcomes for both customers and employees in this fast-moving modern age that we live in. If this is your first time listening to one of these interviews, then welcome, and please do dive into the archives at adrianswinsco.com, as I've now completed over 250 of these interviews in the last few years. If this is not your first time listening, then thank you for returning, and I'll aim to do a good enough job to keep you coming back week after week. Anyway, that's enough from me right now. Let's get into the interview. So, welcome to the next edition of the Rare Business Podcast. With me today, I have Pauline Wilson, who is Operations Director of Virgin Holidays. Hi, Pauline. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm really well. Thanks ever so much for asking, Adrian. And how are you?
I am splendid. I'm very splendid.
Good.
And it looks like the clouds are parting and the sun is coming out, so even better. So
that's definitely a plus. So thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. So, Pauline, for the benefit of our listeners and readers, can you tell us a bit about you and a bit about the work that you do?
Okay. So, as you've already mentioned, Adrian, I'm the VP of Operations at Virgin Holidays, and I'm lucky enough to oversee the entire operations function. And in essence, what that means is that all of the kind of directly related customer teams, once the customer has booked their holiday with us, I look after. So that covers UK, overseas-based airport teams, our US-based team, as well as our teams' destinations further afield across the world. That also means I look after our 24-hour duty office, our customer safety office, aviation and customer relations team.
Blimey.
So during my time working in travel, I've worked in kind of a number or a variety of different roles, starting from sales consultant through working in kind of marketing, pricing, customer centre, and general manager before I was promoted to director.
Perfect. Now, we met, Pauline, and actually we were just talking before the call. I think we met about, I think it was roughly a year ago at a conference where you talked about Virgin Holidays and also your own journey and the efforts that you've been putting into how you improve and deliver a better customer experience. But the thing that really struck me about your talk is that you described something, that you did something which I thought was really, really interesting when you first took over the role. So I don't want to tell the story, so can you tell me about that and also tell me about where the inspiration for that kind of came from?
Okay, so myself and at the time the marketing director, we basically decided that we would travel incognito to a couple of our destinations. So when we went incognito, that meant that we definitely weren't going to, on this occasion, fly upper class. And so what we did there was we really wanted to kind of experience the holiday through the eyes of our customer.
Yeah.
Now, I'm really a strong believer that it's not about us as kind of an LT position, sitting in our ivory tower and presuming to know what our customers want or the issues they face. So I thought, well, what better way for us to do this is than to go and experience it ourselves. So not only did we get the opportunity, myself and the other director, the marketing director, not only did we get the opportunity to kind of, walk the walk, we were also able to really spend time talking to our customers and trying to understand from them about their experiences and what was really important to them. Because I think one of the things I learned was that it's not about what we think is important for our customers. It's very much trying to understand, what's important to them. So it was a great opportunity for us to say, go undercover. There did come a point when we had to break cover, but initially it was brilliant to literally, as I say, go through that experience through the eyes of the customer. And it was a great opportunity as well for our teams to see us doing that.
Perfect. And so, because the thing that struck me about that, I mean, I think it's a great story, but actually, and it's sort of akin to the whole Undercover Boss type of TV program approach, but it's sort of not very normal in large corporate environments. And so, I mean, where did the inspiration or kind of, did you see a need for this? And was that behind the inspiration, or did somebody say, just go do it? Or did you just think, come up with a brainwave and go, let's just go on holiday as one of our customers? How did it work? How did that come about?
Yeah, good question. I think, it's a combination of factors. I think we wanted to really understand how we didn't want it just to be a one-off. Mm-hmm. So we wanted to kind of use it as a catalyst to understand how would we set ourselves up for the future in terms of really not just understanding what our customers need and what they wanted, but then what would we do with that beyond that, and how would that shape us understanding the entire customer journey and what we needed to do to improve it. So it was kind of, as I say, a kind of catalyst for kicking off a piece of work to really interrogate and understand the entire customer journey.
Right.
So that was kind of the approach, and we thought, what better way to do it but then to experience it ourselves, and that would be kind of the start of the journey, so to speak.
And did you actually have to? Because it's one thing going to a store and say buying something at a store, or going to an office or a depot or wherever to actually to see how things can work, but to actually go on holiday at a foreign destination, as it were, a far-flung destination. Did that raise any eyebrows? Did you have to overcome any organisational barriers to that? Because that feels like a big thing. Because it's not an insignificant investment of time and also money.
No, I don't. It wasn't really. I guess because we are actually in the travel industry.
Right.
We are used to. We get to travel to kind of look at our product, looking at our different product range. So it's not unusual for us to travel, certainly as senior leaders within the business, but it is unusual for us to travel as a customer.
Right.
Clearly, we're lucky when we get to travel. Our teams know we're coming, and we've probably shown the best parts of
the red carpet comes out.
Absolutely. So it was different for us in terms of, as I say, definitely understanding what it was like to do that in the customer's shoes, and because of that, what we did was we kept very copious notes. So we had diaries. We wrote everything down in terms of how long it took in terms of the experience from check-in, the experience of having to kind of go through customs, the experience of having to go through security, all of that, and just really trying to understand what that feels like when you're traveling with 2-3 kids, potentially a buggy, and trying to manage all of that at the same time. And
so, what are some of the big things that you learned on the trip that sort of like stood out for you, that you just went and it was only that sort of experience that would have allowed you to see that? Because I think that's really interesting, because then what it does do is it collapses that distance between office and kind of real life experience, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, Adrian, we learnt so much. So whilst we recognise the importance of treating our customers as individuals, there was definitely some common themes which kept cropping up. And I guess one of the kind of real light bulb moments for us, and for me particularly, was that one of the big standouts was that our customers were saying how much that they disliked the last day of their holiday. So when we interviewed them, this was a theme that came through consistently, and not just for the obvious reasons, the fact that they had a fantastic holiday and they were now having to come back home and potentially coming back to drizzle and rain of the UK, but they said to us that they said that they felt that we made them feel a bit like ghosts. As if they'd been forgotten. So there was all the hype of, the engaging, exciting communications whilst they were going on holiday, and then the complete buzz of being on holiday. But then at the point that they were about to check out, they felt literally as though we'd forgotten them.
Right.
And that we were spending our time really focusing on the new arrivals.
Right.
And that was something that was a real kind of wake-up call for us. It was a bit hard-hitting, but it made us think about, okay, how could we look to eliminate this feeling that our customers were having at the point that they were checking out their holiday and at their hotel, and then they felt that they were just basically kind of almost just waiting around, hanging around at the hotel,
sure,
usually in their their plain clothes, as they called it. So they kind of had their clothes that they were ready to wear on to the aircraft, and just waiting for that moment to be then picked up from their coach to then go back to the airport. So we thought, okay, there must be an opportunity. So we came back to the business and we put on our joint thinking caps, and we out of this. We then set the challenge to our product team, and through this kind of moment or this realization, out of this was born the concept of our departure beach.
Okay.
And that was the idea that we had, which was that we would look to build this departure beach where actually customers could check out of their hotel in the morning. We could take them to a beautiful beach where we would build a lounge which was air conditioned, would have lots of facilities, beautiful, somewhere lovely for them to eat, beautiful lounge for the kids, lots for them to be able to do during that period of time, and they could enjoy a fantastic beach. They would be able to check in, so all their luggage could be checked in early in the morning, and they wouldn't have to worry about that. So that would be all taken to the airport for them. They could spend time enjoying, swimming at the beach. We'd give them kind of a wet bag so they could put their wet clothes in, and they could then actually spend quality time rather than kind of hanging around at their hotel, and then they would have memories, but lasting memories of their last day in a positive way, as opposed to kind of almost burning time whilst they've been chucked out of their hotel room. So yeah, that worked really well for us.
I think that's fantastic. So interestingly, I've just come back. I was in Las Vegas last week I was working at a conference, and so I flew out of Gatwick, flew in on a Sunday, and then flew back on the Wednesday afternoon. And so I've just recently experienced that. So you check out the hotel in the morning, and the flight's not until about 3:30 in the afternoon. So you end up having this kind of period. I mean, I was lucky enough that I had an appointment to go see somebody for something else, which sort of, and then we went to lunch, and that sort of filled up the time. But I completely get that. There is that sort of, you check out of the hotel, and then it feels like it's finished, and then you've got to hang around to go to the airport. You're thinking, I don't want to go to the airport too early because the airport's equally boring sometimes, and it's not that comfy, and so I completely get it, and that makes so much sense. And it feels obvious, but it's not obvious when you're planning something out.
I guess. Exactly that. And it's something that I guess we're all aware of it, and we know but until we physically went and saw the impact that has on our customers, we thought, okay, this is something that's a consistent theme. This is a customer touch point that we could actually do something about and make a difference.
Sure. And so I want to go back to something that you kind of said earlier on, because I'm really interested in this idea that you go incognito, but then you had to break cover.
Yeah.
Tell me about the breaking cover bit. Does somebody go, I know who you are? Or
I think we so you can go incognito up until a certain point. I think we certainly could do it as we were getting on board. So throughout checking in at the airport, so making sure that we don't go and see our airport teams. We literally go as customers, go through security, making sure that we don't get met on arrival. So we basically would we organise our own car. We were able to do all of that. We booked up the hotel ourselves, and so we paid on our company credit cards as opposed to doing it through resort to get the best rooms in the hotel, for example. So we did all of that. There came a point when we did break cover, and that was when we wanted to speak to the reps, because we spoke to customers, but we also wanted to speak to the reps as well and the local team. So at that point, we did break cover then. But by that time, we'd kind of been quite established through the process there, because we knew what it was like to actually physically, turn up the hotel and be a regular customer, not that we were, not that we're Virgin Holidays senior leadership team. So we were, by that point, we did break cover when we spoke to reps and explained what we were doing. But that was probably a couple of days in, so that was fine.
I'm glad to hear that was just part of the research process, and it wasn't that something went wrong, and then you had to kind of bring out the exec big guns.
No, we didn't have to do that. And then then obviously when we spoke to the customers and we were interviewing them, we told them who we were at that point. And what we realised, I mean, people were only too happy, our customers, to kind of share their stories and tell them, tell us their experiences. And we went to lunch with various different customers. We held lots of kind of evening sessions, and they were really, really candid, actually.
Perfect. I mean, so the other thing that I just want to go, and then a more general point is that, like I said, initially, is that your story about doing this it's despite its value, it's not. It doesn't feel like it's that common, or it's not common practice in many organisations. And is that because, do you think that many senior execs or people in organizations, they get caught up in too many meetings and dashboards and analytics and metrics and things, that it almost like squeezes out, that it doesn't leave any time to do this type of activity? Or is there something else going on? Or is it like, do you actually have to steel yourself to go out into the field, as it were?
Yeah, interesting question. I think, so your observation is absolutely correct around, we're all really busy, our diaries are all really busy, we're always constantly in meetings, and so you do have to kind of actively make time to do this. I guess we kind of had a burning platform, in as much as it's very much in our DNA as an organisation, certainly within the Virgin brand's DNA, to make sure that we really do have our kind of our pulse on the finger when it comes to what our customers need and want. So for me, it was a pleasure to do. It was something that, as a result of it, it's really kick-started our initial customer journey mapping exercise, which has then followed a whole series of work streams dedicated to improving the customer experience at each of the different customer journey points. So, what it's given us is the opportunity to map the customer emotional highs and lows. So obviously the low point when they're checking out of their hotel, the highs of, when they are actually at the airport and getting ready for their holiday. Some of the lows around, the whole, customs and kind of immigration processes, and then it goes back up again. So we were able to map all of that by doing that whole kind of undercover piece, if you like. And as a result of it, it's made us. It's allowed us to make this kind of a very integral part of the business, and it's embedded now in our processes. So we're able to report progress and track our net promoter score across all these different points, and allowed us to kind of really understand and ensure that we're kind of able to see the visibility of the challenges that customers have, and then the differences where we can make that difference where it really, really matters. So to answer your question, yes, it can be really difficult to make time to do this stuff, but I guess, if it's part of your DNA, it's part of culturally what you're, how it fits with the culture of your organisation, then you make time, don't you? You make time.
Yeah, and so it makes it easier to carve out that time, I guess.
Yeah.
And so this is a sort of an action or activity that sort of kicked off a series of initiatives. I mean, so what sort of level of improvement have you seen over this? I mean, even specifically, what is the creation of the beach, the departure beach, kind of like, what's that done to the overall NPS or satisfaction scores of some of your customers? I mean, how well has it gone down?
So it was really, really well received. I think the challenge we've got is how many we can open. Our first one basically opens this year. So it's taken us a while to build that from last year. So that is being built as we speak, and that goes live this year. So this summer, that's the first one will be open, and then we're looking for our next one. And we're looking at a kind of a program of different lounges that will open across the world. So that's the kind of the next piece that we're looking at. To answer your question around what improvement we've seen, well, on the back of it, yes, it has actually kicked off kind of a whole series of work, and we have seen a significant improvement in terms of our NPS scores from when we started doing this piece of work, which we're delighted with, and we'll obviously continue to keep working to grow that year on year, but we have seen steadily the increase on our Net Promoter Score, and also reducing our customer effort as well.
Right.
So it's something that's, I mean, I can give you some examples of where we've seen some great improvements. So, for example, when we looked at as a result of this, we looked at our customer comms. So the way we were communicating to our customers, we all knew how important it was that we did this really, really properly. But over time, what we had realised was actually we had added so much communication, and we changed it that we started to overwhelm our customers in some cases and actually confuse them. So again, when we kicked off this project, we were kind of getting our customers to get out some of the communication they'd received from us, and they'd explain to us, how some of that made them feel, how maybe some of it had been confusing, maybe they'd got too many different comms. So again, as a result of that, we kicked off a piece of work where we completely overhauled the communication that we were sending our customers. We reduced it and tried to make it much, much easier and clearer, more intuitive. And we signposted more clearly the information that a customer really needed. We tried to make it more personalised and just make it more timely and relevant to each customer. So that was something that we absolutely kind of learned through that insight. And again, one of the other kind of streams that we kicked off was looking at our products. So working with our product teams to really carry out extensive review of all of our different hotels. And we removed, as a result of that, kind of underperforming properties from the programme. And that created a real focus and emphasis on making sure that we did what we said, so making sure that our descriptions matched up to the product we were kind of presenting to our customers. And what that then also meant was that our sales teams were able to then match the right hotel to the right customer. And that might sound really simple, but actually that's really critical for us to ensure that our customers, have the best chance of being delighted by what it is that we've actually sold them, really.
And that's almost, I guess that has to fall into that sort of personalisation and optimization sort of mix, as it were, to make sure that people get things that match their preferences and their desires and their requirements.
Absolutely.
Okay. So this, I mean, it's brilliant. I mean, it seems like there's all this stuff that's come out of this undercover mission, as it were. So if I was to say to you, I mean, would you recommend other leaders and other execs, other entrepreneurs in their business, if they're thinking about improving their own experience to, I mean, I guess what I call it is, I talk about this idea about going to the Gemba. And it's that, I think you know what this is. It's like right back to Toyota, go to the factory floor where the real work takes place to really learn and understand and observe and listen. I mean, would you recommend that other people pick this up and figure out what it means for them and their business?
Yeah, I mean, everybody has to make that choice themselves, but fundamentally, yeah, I would wholeheartedly recommend it. I think, for us, it was absolutely essential that we do this. We might have got to the same result maybe a few years down the line, possibly, right. But there's no substitute actually for really making sure that you're experiencing and listening to your customers. So yeah, I would wholeheartedly recommend it. Absolutely.
Perfect. I mean, it sounds to me that by doing it, it makes your experience and your insight way much more visceral. And as a leader in the business, it can accelerate that sort of program.
Exactly that. And because you feel as though you're speaking from a position of real authority, so and experience, it gives you far more credibility from your team's perspective as well. And I think it makes you, I can speak for me, it makes me far more passionate about what we're trying to do for our customers, because I've experienced it, I've spoken to customers firsthand, and it makes me a very effective catalyst for change within the organisation. Yeah. I'm not literally just speaking from a set of spreadsheets or stats or reports. Yes, of course, that helps, but it's so much. You're able to magnify it more and give it more texture and colour when you've actually experienced it yourself. So, yeah.
Perfect. So if I step back a little bit and think more broadly, Pauline, and if I said that, say there's executives, leaders, entrepreneurs listen to this interview, and they're thinking about, or they're reading their highlights, and they're thinking about or struggling with making, significant improvements to their own customer experience. I mean, what advice would you give them? I mean, where should they start? What do you think? What would be your best advice to them as somebody who's gone through this, is going through this at the moment?
Yeah, I think where to start. I think fundamentally, the people who probably know the most about your customers are those that are serving them. So actually talk to your people.
Yeah.
They have the knowledge, they have the experience day in, day out, and they know far more than we do, certainly at senior leadership level, around what the true issues are that we need to address. Mm-hmm. So I'd say definitely create an opportunity or to be able to capture that and actively encourage them to be part of the identifying what the challenge is, but also what the solutions are. So being part of that. Mm-hmm. I think so. Yeah. So understanding where the real potential pain points are and also the opportunities are. And I think from my experience, I'd say try not to fall into the trap of the shiny and pretty.
Okay.
Because and sometimes we can be guilty of that as well. So
sure.
it's trying to make sure that we get the basics right. Mm-hmm. So of course everybody on holiday would love to be upgraded into upper class and showered with lots of gifts and champagne and all that. But fundamentally, we need to kind of get the basics right, because that's far more powerful, I think, to most of our customers and your customers. And also that's what actually is more sustainable and gives you more longevity.
Yes.
So it's really understanding, get the basics right. So for us, it's about trying to make sure we match the right holiday to the right customer. Mm-hmm. And that we do that in a consistent way, that we are communicating in a consistent way that's very much tailored and personalised to that individual customer, and fundamentally doing what we say we're going to do.
Yeah.
And so you kind of need to get some of those core principle foundations in place and do that, on a consistent basis. So you've got the foundations right. And then, yes, the shiny and pretty is always great to have on top of that, but not until you've got the basics right, I'd say.
Perfect. That's music to my ears, Pauline. That's music to my ears. So a couple of final questions. Mm-hmm. Is there anything else that you think that you'd like to add that we've missed out around this thing before I ask you my final question?
No, I'd just probably say, if I was looking back, what also really does help whenever you're kind of doing any sort of customer engagement or customer kind of program is really get the involvement of your teams. Mm-hmm. So make sure that they are involved as well, so that they can be part of kind of the success and also part of sharing their ideas. Really, I'd say that's probably the one thing that's really helped us to gather momentum and get buy-in across the business, because customer service or delivering great service is not just the responsibility of one department. No. or one area of the business, and you need everybody across the business to understand the part that they play in that. So whether you're somebody that's sitting in the finance department and paying our bills, or everybody plays a part, whether you're servicing an internal customer who then is actually serving a customer externally. Mm-hmm. We all play a part, and we're all equally kind of responsible for our part, so that the overall brand that our customers come into contact in day to day is served well. So yeah, it's a huge engagement piece, I think, across the entire business.
Perfect. So, Pauline, that brings me to my final question that I always ask at the end of these interviews. And the question is this: is there anything that you would like to shamelessly plug?
Oh, okay. Shamelessly plug. Oh, I'm glad you said shamelessly plug. So what would I shamelessly plug? Well, I've already talked about the departure beat, so I guess I've already plugged that. And so whilst it's really important, making sure that the last day of the holiday is important, as equally important as the entire holiday process and make sure they get off to the best possible start. I think I would like to plug, so that was the end part of the holiday. In terms of the beginning part of the holiday and booking a holiday, what I think I would shamelessly like to plug is that I'd like to mention our new partnership that we're really excited about with Next. And over the coming months, we'll be opening 20 new concession stores with the first store in Shoreham and Crawley.
Uh-huh.
And we're already welcoming customers to those stores. And in those stores, you can kick off the holiday in style with a complimentary drink from the bar whilst you sit back and relax and let one of our friendly experience team build and book a fantastic holiday for you. So what we want to do is create a fantastic customer experience, not just at the end or while you're on holiday, but also at the very start. So it's from the start right through to the finish of your holiday.
Fantastic.
We know that it's important, and we know that's what's basically going to drive customers to want to rebook and come back with us and tell all their friends and families how great we are. So my shameless plug is around our partnership with Next.
That sounds fantastic. And well done on the shamelessness of it all. So that sounds great. And so, Pauline, I just wanted to say, I know that we've been sort of playing ping pong, trying to get all this interview date sort of nailed down over the last kind of few months. But just want to say that's brilliant, and thank you for your time today and to sharing your story and your experience. I think people are going to find that really, really interesting, and it's really helpful. I learned a lot too. So once again, just thank you for your time today. That's been great.
Thank you. I hope it has been helpful to others. And on that note, I have to say it's really lovely because looking out now, the sun's come out.
Yay!
Which is really good. Yeah, that's really good. So hopefully our barbecue will be fabulous.
Well, that's it for another interview. I really hope you enjoyed it. Now, every time I complete one of these interviews, I learn something new. And I try and incorporate that new learning into my writing, my speaking, my workshops, and the consulting that I do for my clients. If you're interested, you can find out more about how I work with clients over at adrianswinscoe.com. But one final thing before I go, please consider heading over to iTunes or whichever podcast platform you choose to use, and do leave a review. Every little helps, as they say. Anyway, that's all for now. Thank you for listening, and do listen in again. All the very best.